You mentioned drugs earlier. You have an interesting take on marijuana. So you believe that you can't be successful if you smoke every day, right?
Yeah. So my thing is, look, are there anomalies out there that can smoke weed every day and be successful like a Nate Dogg, right? Sure. But the reality is most guys, it's going to hurt you smoking weed every day. It makes you lethargic, makes you lazy, kills your drive, kills your ambition, makes you more prone to eat a bunch of and these are all things that you don't need now. Like I said, can you be successful smoking weed every day? For sure. But like imagine if you remove that obstacle, how much more productive you would be. So in general, I don't think marijuana is conducive to success, especially in the beginning when you're trying to get ahead. Like you need as little distractions as possible as a man trying to come up. But yeah, I used to be, and the other reason too, like, I used to be a federal agent. I used to literally arrest people for this. So I'm anti-drug, anti-alcohol, anti-gambling. Like I'm very straight edge with a lot of my stuff. I think as a man, you need to have a clear head and be sober as much as you can be to truly like get out there. Cause it's already tough enough. So it's like, you want to add in alcohol as other to life up for what, dude? For what? Like the only people that can get ahead like that and smoke weed every day are really women if they're attractive. Like as a guy, you got to be productive.
Yeah, it's going to hold most people back.
Yeah.
As a former federal agent, I got to ask about the Luigi case.
Sure, let's do it.
You posted on X, I think that you thought he was guilty, right?
Oh yeah, they got him dead to rights.
But there's a lot of people saying he was set up. Have you seen those?
Yeah. Look, what I've noticed is like a lot of people love to run with conspiracy theories, and trust me, I like to put my tinfoil hat on as well. I mean, people that aren't strangers to my content know that I talk a lot about JFK, who killed him, RFK, who killed him, 9/11, who was really behind it. But my thing is, you also need tangible facts. With this guy, dude, they literally caught him with a gun, silencer, the same ID that he used at the hostel. People want to go ahead, because one of the biggest points that they have is, oh, well, the surveillance footage showed that he didn't have a unibrow, but now he does. Bro, those photos, like he was in New York for 10 days prior to getting arrested by the cops, right, and doing this thing. And then on top of that, it took him another week to get him. Dude, I grow a unibrow. You can grow your unibrow literally in a few days, right? So that's nothing. But there's an overwhelming amount of physical evidence that links him to the crime. And then I think they caught him with a manifesto.
Wow.
Like, yeah, dude, when they caught him at the McDonald's, he had a bunch of U.S. currency cash. We know that he was in New York paying with everything in cash. The silencer, a 3D gun. He had the same fake New Jersey license that he passed at the hostel when he was there. Similar facial structure. Obviously, he had the masks on and everything else like that, but the same bushy eyebrows. What else? I'm trying to think. The manifesto, and then there was... Oh, he had tweets talking about elitists and issues with the insurance companies and everything else like that. Obviously, his social media played a picture in that. So, dude, they got the right guy, bro. They got the right guy.
You think it was a hit? It looked pretty planned out, right?
Oh yeah. It was 100%. He's gonna get hit with murder one for the state of New York, and then if there are other people that were involved, they could potentially come after him federally for murder for hire. But if that's not it, what they could go after him for, they could go after him for firearms offenses federally. Because so there's always different charges. You could get hit federal or state on different crimes. Murder, 9 out of 10 times almost always falls under the state unless there's like circumstances that gives it a federal nexus. In this case, him using the silencer, which probably I'm willing to bet was probably unregistered, and then it looks like it was a ghost gun. There's probably some federal regulations there that he violated, so they could potentially go after him federally. Big cases like this, the feds love to hit their charges as well, especially since they do way more time at the feds. And then also when he got out of when they were bringing him to the jail or to his court thing, he made some comments about the American people aren't stupid or whatever. But I'm pretty confident they got the right guy.
The interesting part to me is the media blew up this thing.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder why.
Because the way that he killed him, right? Like me putting on my former agent hat on, like, you got a guy coming in, shooting someone with a silencer in broad daylight in the morning, early mornings in New York City, Manhattan. Obviously a city that's very sensitive to any type of crazy crime like that. You kill a CEO of a big insurance company on surveillance footage, and then you leave monopoly money behind. You're on some Riddler type. Yeah, the media's gonna eat it up because serial killers he's not a serial killer, but anytime a murderer does something where they're sending letters to the media or the cops or taunting them, it's gonna hit the news. You look at someone like a BTK, Dennis Rader, or a Zodiac killer, who to this day they still haven't formally identified him.
Crazy.
They have 2 main suspects, which is a whole other conversation. But anyone that sends notes or whatever to the police or leaves anything that's taunting like that, it's gonna be front page news.
Yeah, I feel like murder these days with all the cameras everywhere, it's almost impossible, right?
Yeah, if you're gonna commit a murder nowadays, man, you have to really be on point. It's gonna be a lot harder. It's not the 1970s where serial killers were running wild. Like all the top serial killers operated in the 70s, whether it's Ted Bundy, Zodiac killer, late 60s, Torso killer, John Wayne Gacy, the killer clown. All of them operated in the 70s, man. Samuel Little, who actually has the most confirmed kills, all of them operated in the 70s. And the big reason for that, interstate highways, and then before police departments were sharing information through databases, like serial killers like Ted Bundy, who traveled interstate, and Samuel Little, who were killing women all over the place, they kind of created this need for law enforcement to have one centralized database and be able to share information through something called NCIC. So that actually prompted a lot of the interstate databases was these serial killers. And then an interstate highway made it where you could travel from, one major city to another in another state immediately. And then you've left that jurisdiction. We know that murder typically falls under the state. So it's going to be a lot more difficult for them to track you down and build a case against you. And then this is before the invention of refined forensics and DNA. So it made it a lot easier for them to be able to commit these crimes and be able to escape.
Yeah, you don't really see mass murders these days.
Yeah, Dennis Rader, the BTK killer, they caught him later in the 2000s, but he had been committing murders since the 70s.
Wow.
And they caught him with the Golden State Killer, the same thing through DNA later on.
Really?
Yeah.
So it was on whatever weapon they found?
Yeah. So two interesting stories. So Dennis Rader, aka the BTK, bind, torture, kill. What happened with him was he had committed a murder in the 70s, one of his first murders, where he cut the power lines and he killed a family and he assaulted one of the little girls in the basement. He left DNA at the scene. They took that DNA and they preserved it. Fast forward to the early 2000s, he had stopped killing for a while. He had a family, he had kids and stuff like that. He was going to church or whatever. And what ends up happening is he decides he wants to make a comeback. So he writes a taunting letter to the police saying that he's going to come back and everything. And he sends them I think a Barbie doll tied up with a cereal box, right? Serial killer. Terrible joke. But anyway, they end up finding him he said, hey, if I give you guys a floppy disk, will you guys be able to trace it? And the cops are like, no. And he sends this floppy disk in like a dumbass or whatever. And they're able to find it back, trace it back to him, right? That he worked at, I think, a church or something like that. And they were like, okay, well, how do we know that he's the actual guy? So what they did was they had this DNA from back in the 70s, and they needed to get a DNA sample from him. So they knew that his daughter, I think was at the University of Kansas or whatever, and she had went to go to a doctor's appointment, so they had DNA from her. So they went and got her DNA from the school.
What? You could do that?
Yeah, they went. Yeah, they served them with a subpoena.
Oh, okay.
And were able to, or search warrant, whatever, some legal document. I'm assuming it will probably be a search warrant potentially, because that's pretty invasive.
Yeah, especially daughter. It's not even him.
Yeah. So they went ahead. They got her DNA, compared it to the DNA at the scene from the 70s. Match, and they're like, oh, and then when they arrested him, another guy, the Golden State Killer, they ended up catching him later on. He also would, commit crimes where he was raping women and stuff like that. So they had his DNA from a crime scene as well. He had this unique thing where he would he'd break into the house and assault the women, and then the guys in the house, what he would do is he would tell them, because he'd rob them, he'd break in with a gun, right?
Yeah.
And he would tell them, okay, you got to sit on all fours, and I'm going to put he put dishes on their back. So if they moved, he would hear the dishes crash and he would kill the woman, or he would threaten, hey, you better stay like this. And if you move, I'm going to hear the dishes crash. I'm going to shoot her. So they would sit there and they can't do anything. And obviously the woman was being assaulted. So they had the DNA for him, right? And they couldn't catch this guy for years. He was doing this in the 70s. They caught him in 2020.
Wow.
Yeah. And he was an old man at this point. And they caught him through one of these ancestry websites, 23andMe or whatever.
Yeah.
Someone in his family had done a DNA test, right? So what they did was they took his DNA and put it into this website, and they found that there was a match, like not an exact match, but someone in his family. So someone that put the DNA from his family or his family line, they looked at when that person was born. They're like, okay, this guy's too young. He wasn't alive in the 70s. But then they were to trace it back, and they found out that he had a relative, like an uncle or something like that, that was 70 years old. They're like, that might be our guy. So they went to the house and they did a DNA scrub of the car door.
Yeah.
They compared it to the DNA at one of the crime scenes, matched it.
No
Went
way.
and arrested him. Yeah, dude.
What?
Crazy.
That is nuts.
Yes.
Yeah. Wherever you guys are watching this show, I would truly appreciate it if you follow or subscribe. It helps a lot with the algorithm. It helps us get bigger and better guests, and it helps us grow the team. Truly means a lot. Thank you guys for supporting, and here's the episode.